The history of cinema owes itself greatly to the filmmakers of France. Since the dawn of cinema as a medium, France has been on the cutting edge of telling stories through film, as well as the production and even the technology of movies. Their stories have maintained a unique identity, exploring the worlds of action, comedy, love, and more through creative use of cinema as a medium of storytelling. As early as 1895, the brothers Lumière were dedicated to building up the language of the moving picture. Through the work of Léon Bouly, they helped to create one of the first ever video cameras, the cinématographe. This light and portable camera was used to film many important early works, the most notable of which is the arrival of a train at La Ciotat, which is famous for having caused unease in audiences at the time. With this advancement in filming technology, Paris became a healthy home for cinema to grow during the 1910s. 4 prominent filmmakers came about in this early era. Georges Méliès, a pioneer for film techniques like superimposition, Gaumont and Alice Guy Blanche, who was the first female film producer, Pat Frère, and the Lumière brothers. Each of these people formed their own production firms, which would encourage production of over hundreds of films each, as well as many new cinemas, such as the Gaumont Palais. By the end of World War I, French cinema no longer had the funding it once did. This led to many more American films being screened in French cinemas, as they were cheaper for theaters to purchase. Still, French cinema was finding its own identity. Jacques Feyder and Jean Renoir would be big pioneers of poetic realism and camera techniques during the 1930s. This, along with government aid, helped France boost its film production once more. At the arrival of World War II and the occupation of France by the Nazis, cinema production once again slowed down greatly. Children of Paradise was made despite these circumstances and many power outages. It still managed to become highly successful at the time. It is also in 1939 that the International Film Festival was established, largely as opposition to the noticeably corrupt Venice Film Festival. The International Film Festival would not have its first showcasing until 1946, after the war ended. The festival would go on to be known as Cannes Film Festival. Post-World War II, France struggled to regain its footing in the film world against Hollywood. France's government reacted by creating the National Center of Cinematography, or the CNC. This branch helped provide funding for films produced in France. But in the 1940s, it was not enough to save the industry alone. Many French producers would collaborate with other countries where film production was booming. In 1959, the Cannes Film Festival debuted 2 films which were barred from winning the Palme d'Or, Les 400 Coups and Hiroshima Mon Amour. This outraged many people, seeing that film should not be censored for political reasons. These beliefs stemmed from earlier in the decade, when French people were beginning to analyze movies as an art form. Magazines such as the Cahiers du Cinéma and Positif became the genesis of modern film theory and critique. It is this analysis of film that defines the old French style of film, one which honors the writing first and foremost. Many contributors saw this style as academic, noting how it fails to properly use cinema as a unique storytelling medium. These magazines drew in many contributors such as Jacques Rivette, Claude Chabrol, Éric Rohmer, and Jean-Luc Godard. Many of these filmmakers would become pioneers in filmmaking by the early 1960s and established the New Wave. This put French cinema back at the forefront of the global movie industry. New Wave films are defined by their dynamic cinematography, shot composition, and lighting. The full effort of film production is used to express themes and ideas represented on screen. New Wave would inspire many new Hollywood directors throughout the 1970s and beyond. Among the new wave of directors was Agnès Varda, an important figure in female filmmaking and considered one of the greatest new wave directors. By the end of the 60s, the new wave had largely died out and made way for more commercial genres of film. Comedies became popular, including La Grande Vadrouille and La Folie des Grandeurs. These films would become massive box office successes in France. Throughout the remainder of the 20th century, French comedies would be crucial to the identity of French cinema. Among the most popular remains La Cage aux Folles from 1979, which makes new wave styles with comedic writing. It is also considered an important part of queer cinema. In 1982, director Jean-Jacques Benet released Diva. This movie would establish a new era of French cinema, the cinéma du look. These films would emphasize natural aesthetics to tell a story. These films focus greatly on connection, love, and loneliness. In contrast with New Wave, cinéma du look would be less abstract. 1984 saw the release of The Angel by Bokanowski. It is considered by many to be the dawn of contemporary animation, serving as inspiration for 3D animation and blending live action and animation together. Today, the Paris-based animation production company MacGuff, now known as Illumination Studios Paris, has done work on films such as Despicable Me and The Minions, and has since become one of the most successful animation production companies in the world. Since the 2000s, French cinema has continued to stand on its own as a cultural landmark. Many modern directors honor the styles that define French film in their works. Comedies such as Amélie and Les Intouchables became massive successes outside of France. Many directors, such as Gaspard Noé and Xavier Dolan, continue to honor New Wave values in their own style. Many French actors and directors have received global recognition for their talents. In all, French cinema is still strong and greatly influential, always on the cutting edge of film as a storytelling medium.